Houston, we've had a problem. Those 5 words transformed an ordinary moon mission into one of the greatest survival stories in human history. More than 200,000 miles from Earth, 3 astronauts suddenly found themselves trapped inside a crippled spacecraft. Oxygen was disappearing. Electricity was failing. The moon landing was over. Around the world, millions watched as NASA faced an impossible challenge. Could they bring 3 astronauts home before time ran out? Every decision mattered. Every second counted. One mistake could cost 3 lives. This is the incredible true story of Apollo 13. The mission that proved humanity's greatest achievement wasn't landing on the moon. It was making it back alive. The summer of 1969 changed history forever. When Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon during Apollo 11, the impossible became reality. Less than a year later, NASA was preparing for another lunar mission. This time, the excitement was different. The world had already seen astronauts walk on the moon. Apollo 13 wasn't expected to make headlines. To many people, it was simply the next mission in America's growing space program. But inside NASA, every lunar mission still carried enormous risks. Space remained one of the most dangerous environments humans had ever entered. Commander Jim Lovell understood those dangers better than almost anyone. By 1970, he had already flown into space 3 times. Joining him were Jack Swigert, a skilled command module pilot, and Fred Haise, an experienced test pilot preparing for his first journey into space. Together, they spent months training for every situation NASA could imagine. They practiced equipment failures, navigation problems, communication breakdowns, emergency landings. Yet there was one situation no simulator could fully prepare them for. On April 11, 1970, thousands of spectators gathered along Florida's coast. Television cameras broadcast the event across America. Standing more than 360 feet tall, the Saturn V rocket waited silently on the launch pad. Inside the spacecraft, the astronauts completed their final checks. Mission Control confirmed every system was ready. Then came the countdown. 10, 9, 8. The engines ignited. Flames erupted beneath the rocket. Slowly at first, then with incredible power, Apollo 13 lifted into the sky. Within minutes, the spacecraft was racing toward space at thousands of miles per hour. Back on Earth, applause filled Mission Control. Another flawless launch. Everything was going exactly according to plan. For the next 2 days, life aboard Apollo 13 felt surprisingly normal. The crew completed scheduled tasks. They transmitted television broadcasts back to Earth. Mission Control continued reporting that all systems were operating perfectly. No one suspected that disaster was only hours away. On the evening of April 13th, nearly 56 hours into mission, Mission Control gave what seemed like an ordinary instruction. The crew was asked to stir one of the spacecraft's oxygen tanks. It was a routine procedure, something they had done before, without any problems. Jack Swigert reached toward the switch. He flipped it. A second later, bang! A violent explosion ripped through the spacecraft. The cabin shook. Warning lights flashed across every control panel. Alarms sounded simultaneously. Jim Lovell grabbed the controls as the spacecraft unexpectedly shifted. For a brief moment, no one understood what had happened. Then Lovell looked through one of the spacecraft's small windows. What he saw sent a chill through the crew. Instead of empty space, a cloud of gas was pouring from the spacecraft into the darkness. Something was terribly wrong. For several seconds, silence filled the spacecraft. The astronauts quickly checked their instruments. Numbers were changing everywhere. Power levels were dropping. Warning lights continued flashing. Commander Jim Lovell immediately contacted Mission Control. His calm voice carried across more than 200,000 miles of space. Houston, we'd had a problem. Inside Mission Control, the room instantly fell silent. Every engineer stopped what they were doing. Large computer screens began displaying alarming data. One oxygen tank had completely failed. The second was rapidly losing pressure. Without oxygen, the spacecraft could no longer produce enough electricity to power its essential systems. The moon landing was officially canceled. The mission had only one objective now: bring the crew home alive. NASA's engineers immediately divided into emergency teams. One group analyzed the damaged spacecraft. Another calculated new flight paths. Others searched for ways to conserve every possible watt of electricity. There was no rescue mission, no backup spacecraft, no way to send supplies. Everything the astronauts needed to survive was already on board. Every minute, the situation became more dangerous. The command module, the astronauts' primary home, could no longer support them for the return journey. Mission Control made a bold decision. The lunar module, originally built to carry 2 astronauts to the moon for a short stay, would now become a temporary lifeboat for all 3 crew members. It had never been designed for such a task, yet it became their only hope. Life inside the spacecraft changed dramatically. The astronauts shut down almost every non-essential system to save power. Cabin temperatures dropped until the interior became bitterly cold. Water had to be rationed carefully. Every movement was planned. Every battery was precious. Meanwhile, hundreds of engineers on Earth worked day and night. Using identical spacecraft equipment, they tested every procedure before sending instructions to Apollo 13. One unexpected challenge soon emerged. Carbon dioxide levels inside the spacecraft began rising. The air cleaning system available in the lunar module wasn't designed to support 3 astronauts for such a long journey. NASA engineers improvised a solution using only materials already available on board: plastic bags, cardboard, tape, hoses. Following instructions from Mission Control, the astronauts assembled the device inside the spacecraft. It worked. The air became safe again. It was one of the most remarkable examples of teamwork in NASA's history. Although the landing had been canceled, Apollo 13 still had to travel around the moon. Its gravity would act like a giant slingshot, helping send the spacecraft back toward Earth. As they passed behind the moon, communication with Mission Control was temporarily lost. For several minutes, the astronauts were completely alone. They looked through the spacecraft windows at the silent gray surface below. The destination they had spent years preparing to reach was now slipping quietly behind them. Their only goal was home. Soon, they emerged from the far side of the moon and re-established contact with Earth. The return journey had begun. Apollo 13 was finally heading back toward Earth, but the astronauts were far from safe. The explosion had damaged the spacecraft, and no one knew exactly how it behaved during re-entry. Before entering Earth's atmosphere, the crew faced one final challenge: the command module. The only part of the spacecraft designed to survive the intense heat of re-entry had been powered down for days to conserve electricity. Now, it had to be brought back to life. Mission Control carefully created a completely new startup procedure. Normally, powering up the spacecraft required a long sequence of steps using far more electricity than remained. NASA engineers worked through the night, rewriting those procedures from scratch. Every switch, every button, every system had to be activated in a precise order. There was no room for error. Inside the spacecraft, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise followed each instruction with absolute precision. If even one critical system failed, they might never make it home. Chapter 9, For Minutes of Silence. On April 17, 1970, Apollo 13 reached Earth. The damaged service module was released, revealing the extent of the destruction for the first time. The astronauts could only hope that the command module had escaped serious damage. As the capsule entered Earth's atmosphere, temperatures outside climbed to nearly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat created a blanket of ionized gas around the spacecraft, blocking all radio communication. This was the expected communications blackout. Normally, it lasted about 4 minutes. Mission Control waited. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 3. The room became silent. No one spoke. Every pair of eyes remained fixed on the communication console. For minutes passed, still nothing. The blackout lasted longer than expected. Around the world, millions of people held their breath. Had the heat shield survived? Had the parachutes deployed? Or had Apollo 13 been lost just moments before reaching home? Then, a voice broke the silence. Apollo 13 was alive. Cheers erupted inside Mission Control. Engineers embraced one another. Months of preparation, days without sleep, and countless impossible decisions had all led to this moment. Moments later, 3 massive parachutes opened above the Pacific Ocean. The command module descended gently toward the water. With a powerful splash, Apollo 13 landed safely. Recovery crews quickly reached the capsule. The hatch opened. One by one, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise stepped into the fresh ocean air. Tired, cold, but alive. What had begun as a failed moon landing ended as one of the greatest rescue efforts in history. NASA had not only saved 3 astronauts, it had demonstrated what determination, teamwork, and engineering could accomplish under unimaginable pressure. Although Apollo 13 never reached the lunar surface, its impact on space exploration was enormous. NASA conducted a detailed investigation into the accident. The findings led to improvements in spacecraft design, safety procedures, testing, and emergency planning. The mission also became a lasting example of how innovation and teamwork can overcome extraordinary challenges. Today, Apollo 13 is remembered not for the mission it couldn't complete, but for the lives it saved. It reminds us that success isn't always measured by reaching a destination. Sometimes, success means refusing to give up when everything seems lost. Apollo 13 wasn't the mission NASA had planned. It was something even greater, a story of courage under pressure, of engineers solving impossible problems, of astronauts remaining calm when panic would have been understandable. More than 50 years later, Apollo 13 continues to inspire scientists, engineers, explorers, and dreamers around the world. It proves that even when a mission fails, human determination can still achieve something extraordinary, because history doesn't always remember the perfect missions. Sometimes, it remembers the ones that overcame impossible odds. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Story Nest for more true stories from American history, NASA, World War II, Cold War events, and the untold moments that changed our world. If this story inspired you, leave a like and tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were aboard Apollo 13? Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep exploring history with Story Nest.